Hello everyone again. We have about 1 minute. Is anyone having difficulty hearing me? If you're not hearing me, well, I guess you wouldn't be able to let me know if you couldn't hear me. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the communication notes section just to make sure that we're all good. Here's our test announcement, test 1, test 2. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Okay, so to be mindful of everyone's time, because I know everyone is busy, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello everyone and welcome to the 2016-17 Third-Party Cooperative Arrangements Training for School District Staff. My name is Sheila Ward and I am the VR Transition Administrator responsible for the programmatic function of TPCAs throughout Florida. I am joined today by Wayon Tolliver, our TPCA Contract Manager, to provide information that will help you thoroughly understand, or so we hope, the TPCA and achieve success in accomplishing your contractual requirements. This training is designed specifically for you, the District Point of Contacts and Employment Specialists, to provide basic TPCA information for new districts coming on board and programmatic updates for returning districts. We also hope to have time to answer any questions that you may have at the conclusion of the presentation. If I do run short of time, however, I do invite you to send your questions to me and I will do my best to have them answered as soon as possible. So you are aware, this webinar presentation will be recorded and made available for future review. The internet-based Prezi has been put on PowerPoint slides for you to have available for download. In addition, you have a draft copy of the TPCA Program Manual in the webinar resources found to the right of your presentation panel. Please note that this is only a draft until it has been approved. Once final approval has been given, the program manual will be uploaded to our website. I would like to thank all of you who provided feedback and contributed to the development of this manual. Your contributions were invaluable to this work. We plan to cover a good amount of material today, which includes the programmatic and systematic function of TPCAs, the contractual requirements, expectations, deliverables, and the best practices that are contributed to past and ongoing successful TPCA experiences. TPCAs allow VR to engage in a collaborative partnership with school districts to offer career preparation experiences, particularly community-based work experiences, to students with the most significant disabilities requiring intensive services and supports. TPCAs are a braiding of funding which allows VR to share program costs with school districts. This is done by providing reimbursement for the required deliverables that are supplied by the employment specialist who must spend 100% of their day within the school year working only with TPCA students. The purpose of the TPCA is to provide paid and non-paid hands-on community-based work experience opportunities to students with significant disabilities who would not otherwise have had these experiential work opportunities. What constitutes a TPCA program candidate? Under the Workforce and Innovation Opportunity Act, VR is able to serve youth 15 through 21 who are still in high school. It is likely, however, with the new graduation requirements for most students in the TPCA program to fall in the 18 to 21 year range, receiving those extended school district services. With this in mind, it is important to make sure that students needing TPCA services get access to them at least 2 years prior to exiting school. VR eligibility is based on an order of selection, which allows us to prioritize services serving those with the greatest need. In this case, students who are found eligible for TPCAs would fall under Category 1. Individuals in Category 1 have a disability that seriously limits 3 or more functional capacities in terms of work. Individuals require 3 or more primary VR services, and they require these services for a minimum of 12 months. In other words, TPCA students would likely qualify for PBIS Tier 3 interventions and services. TPCA candidates require supported employment services and may qualify if they are VR customers who require any of the services noted on this slide. It is important to understand that a student may transition from high school to employment at any time once the student is ready to work and his or her education is complete. Please note that any school in a TPCA district can participate. Preference should be given to those students with the greatest needs and should not be limited by the student's attendance at any given school. Lastly, it is important to understand that in addition to criteria, VR eligibility is always determined by the VR counselor. Now we're going to talk about program implementation. The TPCA contract clearly outlines specific terms and identifies specific deliverables expected from both parties. To ensure both parties clearly understand all aspects of the contract, there are certain elements that you should be aware of when it comes to contractual changes, contract terms, service provisions, payments, financial consequences, and special provisions. There is a copy of the TPCA contract in the program manual that is highlighted to emphasize key points and areas of focus. We will be going over many of these contractual elements in the slides to come. For districts who have 2 employment specialists, Florida Statute 216.3475 FS, if that isn't a mouthful, I don't know what is, requires a cost analysis or budget be submitted to the contract manager as part of the contract documents. Possible line items such as salaries, transportation, and program supplies may apply. The TPCA program manual includes additional clarification as to what would be allowable, reasonable, and necessary expenditures. However, it is important to understand that the contract manager will review your submission to make this determination. The cost analysis form must be signed and sent along with the signed contract. As already mentioned, VR funding supports students' participation in CBWEs, providing valuable work experiences with the expected outcome of employment. We will talk more about funding shortly, but before we do, it is important to understand a few program implementation elements that are highlighted in the contract. First, VR is not responsible for the hiring or evaluation of the employment specialist. School districts are expected to do this based on their own hiring and evaluation criteria. However, feedback can be elicited by the school districts on job descriptions or the review of candidates' qualifications if desired. Program minimums are another must-know for the district. As outlined in the contract, a minimum of 6 VR supported employment students must engage in at least one CBWE by the end of the school year. In the introduction, I shared that TPCAs are a braiding of funding where school districts and VR share the costs of the program. As you can see on this slide, school districts provide non-federal general revenue funds for each employment specialist hired by the district to provide who's providing the TPCA services. These funds allow VR to pull down federal funds to pay for services included in the TPCA. Please note that although the funds are attached to the services provided by each employment specialist, they are not tied to their salaries. TPCA funds may be spent on items and materials that are needed to support the program. VR shares the cost of TPCA by reimbursing school districts $31,480 for the deliverables produced by each employment specialist. We use a flat rate based on meeting required outcomes that are consistent for every school district. As part of the current contract, payment is rendered throughout the school year, paying $4,000 per month for 10 months. Payment is based on contractual compliance and deliverables. These include serving at least 6 VR-supported employment students per employment specialist, and each of those students engaging in at least one CBWE by the end of the school year, as well as properly submitted reports and invoices. Oops, sorry about that. It is important to understand that if student or CBWE minimums are not met, there will be financial consequences, which includes an exact reduction of the total. So for instance, if only 5 students are served, then the overall payment to the district would be reduced by 1/6. TPCAs, like most agreements, have identified roles, responsibilities, and commitments that help to clarify agreements. We will be reviewing roles and responsibilities shortly, but for now, let's review the school district commitments that are made when signing the TPCA contract. In regards to school districts, there must be a commitment to hiring a qualified full-time employment specialist who has the required experience and skills to complete the TPCA deliverables. Although a job description is not required, it is best practice to have one that is specific to the requirements and responsibilities the employment specialist will have. An example of a job description is provided in the TPCA program manual for you to look at. Since the TPCA program is offered during the school day to supported employment students who have intensive needs and require intensive services and supports, the district must make a commitment to hire an employment specialist to work only with those students. Serving together under the umbrella of the Florida Department of Education, both educators and VR staff are aware of the importance of continued professional development. To ensure TPCA stakeholders receive the proper education to be successful, training will be provided to new school district and VR staff at the beginning of each year to ensure consistency throughout the program. It is expected that district administration, as well as VR supervisors, support and reinforce the need for initial, additional, and follow-up training. Some financial reimbursements are contingent on the submission of monthly reports and invoices. School districts will need to become familiar with and know how to work within REBA. More information on reporting and REBA will be covered later in this presentation by Wei-Arn. VR acknowledges the financial position districts are in and are committed to ensuring reimbursements are done so in a reasonable time frame. Reimbursement takes approximately 3 to 4 weeks maximum from the date all invoice documentation for payment is received. However, there may be variations depending upon submission date, holidays, or hurricanes. It will be important for district points of contact to get their reports submitted by the end of the month to assist in timely reimbursement of funds. The next 5 slides provide a great deal of information about the responsibilities of each TPCA stakeholder. Let's begin to review these by looking at the duties and roles each play. You will notice at the conclusion that each plays an integral part in the success of the TPCA program. The school district and VR administrators play key roles in the TPCA big picture. The school district administrator must submit contract documents, including the cost analysis if applicable, and identify a point of contact for the TPCA. He or she is responsible for signing off on the contract, submitting the district personnel form, and informing the TPCA contract manager of any point of contact staffing changes. The VR administrator develops training materials, provides programmatic support, and serves as the liaison between the district and VR. In moving on to the point of contact, I must start by saying that the point of contact and employment specialist must be two different people. This is so because both have very different duties, roles, and responsibilities. It is important that the point of contact understand his or her expectations to assure contractual requirements and the program deliverables are met. Having these responsibilities assigned to the point of contact will ensure the employment specialist has adequate time to focus on TPCA responsibilities and ensure report accuracy. Let's talk more about those VR referrals. As listed on the last slide, VR referrals should be made by the point of contact. It is also important to understand that eligibility process can take time, so referrals for the TPCA program should be made early and continuously throughout the year. The TPCA program should be available to any student in the district meeting the supported employment eligibility requirements. Suggested referrals and decisions to refer should be made collaboratively between the point of contact and the VR counselor. This past year, we have been working with school district staff to develop a streamlined referral process for transition youth services. The TPCA referral should be incorporated into this established process if it has not been already. As already mentioned, the employment specialist must spend 100% of his or her time working directly with TPCA students or developing community-based work experiences. While engaged in this key role, the employment specialist is preparing, working on-site with, and providing assistance to students and employers while setting students up for next steps after graduation or exit. All of this work is captured through notes the employment specialist writes on the student progress reports located on REBA. The VR contract manager has the responsibility of managing the contract, providing approvals, and ensuring compliance of the program deliverables, specifically monthly reports, documentation, invoices, and payment reimbursement. In addition, the contract manager is responsible for maintaining a tracking and monitoring tool designed to assist VR in assuring our desired TPC outcomes are being reached. VR counselors need to determine eligibility and provide approvals in a timely manner. They have a time frame outlined in our policy, but when working with students, sometimes these need to be expedited. Counselors are expected to review student progress reports and documentation, approve deliverables, and must also make recommendations for improvement on those reports if necessary. It is expected that the VR counselor have regular communication with the employment specialist to provide program support with services, students, communication, etc. This can be done via phone, email, or face-to-face at the school or while participating in district interagency council meetings. If districts are having difficulty with referrals being processed in a timely manner, the point of contact should contact the VR administrator for assistance. Speaking of assistance, VR assistance can come in many forms. VR counselors have a great deal of experience and expertise providing employment guidance and counseling services to individuals with disabilities. This knowledge and experience with various employment strategies and potential obstacles can be very helpful to school districts' employment specialists. This slide includes an abbreviated list of the ways VR counselors are here to help. Many TPCA teams have scheduled monthly meetings to review progress, as well as brainstorm areas of concern. This best practice works very well to be proactive instead of reactive. We have reviewed general roles and duties of the employment specialist. Now it is time to narrow down the focus to responsibilities. Since CBWEs are the crux of the TPCA program, the employment specialist must develop valuable and rich experiences for the students to engage in. Employment specialists should utilize the results of vocational assessments to identify potential employers in the area. By examining the local labor market, employment specialists can secure a variety of work settings. Being a member of the community adds additional CBWE opportunities because the employment specialists typically have connections and ties to the businesses in that area. Although the expectation is that TPCA students engage in at least one CBWE per school year, clearly they are not limited to one. Having students participate in a variety of work experiences not only gives them an opportunity to build career skills in a variety of areas, it provides them an opportunity to learn and practice professional skills such as 21st century skills and soft skills that will be valuable no matter where they work. Some schools have their students engage in work experiences at the district level to help them gain work experience and confidence in their abilities. This is fine as an orientation or introduction. It is important to understand, however, that the TPCA contract is explicit and states students must engage in work experiences that are community-based. There are a number of activities that the employment specialist can engage students in to prepare them for the CBWE. This list on your screen provides an assortment of learning opportunities that allows students to learn, practice, and gain confidence in their employment skills and abilities. More information on the pre-CBWE assessments and their application, as well as these others, can be found in the TPCA program manual. What services must the employment specialist provide students? There are three main categories of services that lead to improved employment outcomes. These include pre-CBWE learning and preparation activities, which include self-advocacy, social and self-help skills, and career exploration. Job coaching, which are structured intervention techniques, help students learn to perform job tasks and develop the interpersonal skills necessary to be prepared as a worker at a CBWE site. And job retention supports include ongoing support services that are employment-related and needed to promote retention in the workplace. You will find additional examples of these in the program manual. It is imperative that the employment specialist communicate regularly with the VR counselor to report on student performance. Doing so will ensure student progress, leading to student success. The purpose of the Student Progress Report is to capture all CBWE development activities and services to provide TPCA students and the progress each has been made. To ensure an accurate account of services, it is imperative that the employment specialist enter the notes into REBA on a daily basis or at minimum 3 times a week. The notes used on the Student Progress Report will be used by the district point of contact to create the monthly reports that are submitted for reimbursement. The daily Student Progress Report submissions should be detailed and show how the TPCA work is helping each student work towards their IPE, their Individualized Plan for Employment goal. Notes should be comprehensive and must include the report expectations listed on the slide. The information submitted on the Student Progress Report will not only serve as documentation, but provide information that can be useful to the VR counselor to determine additional assistance or support that may be required to achieve success. Student Progress Report notes may be completed in narrative or bullet form. Please remember, the format is not important, it is the quality of the information provided that is. In developing quality reports, the employment specialist must include information that is helpful in determining the outcomes of the service deliverables. This information includes activities completed and the outcomes from the work, progress or regression, specific problems or concerns, activity delivery, and support that may be required. In addition to the items I just mentioned, the employment specialist would need to include CBWE progress that is gathered from site visits and direct feedback by the site supervisor. In addition to the student progress report that the employment specialist must complete, the employment specialist is responsible for distributing and collecting a community work-based experience community-based work experience rating form. Sorry about that. This is a newly revised evaluation designed for the CBWE worksite supervisor to assess each student at the worksite. The information included will help the employment specialist and VR counselor to determine progress as well as indicate if more assistance is required. The CBWE rating forms must be completed quarterly if the CBWE is long-term or 3 months or more. If it is considered short-term, less than 3 months, they must be completed monthly. These forms must be submitted with the employment specialist's student progress reports. It is important for the employment specialist to ensure the CBWE rating forms are signed by the site supervisor. And note that CBWE rating forms signed by the employment specialist will not be accepted. For returning districts, please note that this is a change to how CBWEs were submitted last year. We were mindful of the comments submitted by site supervisors of finding monthly evaluations taxing. It is important to understand that this year's contract does not reflect this language, so we added the requirement of including CBWE progress gathered from site visits and direct feedback by the site supervisors directly into the employment specialist's monthly student progress reports. The VR counselor will review the student progress reports to ensure this information is being included to avoid having to go back to monthly CBWE rating forms for every student. It is important for the employment specialist to know the employers in order to best match a student with an appropriate worksite environment. This can be difficult, especially if the employment specialist or VR counselor is new to the area. It is beneficial for the employment specialist to have a way of tracking the employers they have worked with in the past. One method of accomplishing this is to complete an evaluation of the worksite at the end of the TPCA work experience. The CBWE worksite evaluation allows the employment specialist to document valuable feedback on the worksite supervisor, employees, and worksite environment that can be used in making decisions about future TPCA placements. Please note the CBWE worksite evaluation is not required, but it is strongly encouraged. You can find copies of both the CBWE rating form and worksite evaluation in the appendices of the program manual. An established process includes certain steps taken every time something is done to ensure consistency. The process chart on this slide walks you through the documentation approval process. You will notice that all TPCA stakeholders play a role somewhere within the process. You will also notice that communication between those stakeholders is built in for assurance purposes. The next 6 slides will be reviewed by our contract manager, Wayan Tolliver. Just give us a minute to switch over the headphone.
Good afternoon. Moving forward, the REBA process is documented on this slide. We've already spoke about the CBWEs and the time certifications, but the point of contact reviews the employment specialist's notes on services provided daily or at least weekly. The point of contact also reviews CBWE rating forms. The point of contact will create the monthly report with the student progress report and the CBWE rating form within the REBA system. The VR counselor reviews and approves the student progress report and CBWE rating form within the REBA system. The system will be identified as approved once the VR counselor approves it. The point of contact will then create the invoice and attach the employment specialist's time certification for that month. The REBA system will send an invoice packet to the contract manager, at which time the contract manager will review and approve the invoice or reject the invoice. if your invoice is rejected, the point of contact will be notified via the REBA system. If the invoice is approved, the contract manager will go ahead and submit the approved invoice packet to the Department of Education's Financial Payments Unit for payment, for review and payment. So the next slide gives us some more details about the different dashboards as they apply to either the POC or the employment specialist and what you actually see within the REBA system. We're going to go through each one of these. So to start, the TPCA POC dashboard, the point of contact dashboard. Basically, this dashboard is used by the POC to accept or reject referrals. The referrals will come to you from the VR counselor, and at this slide, the point of contact will be able to either accept the referral or reject it. The TPCA Employment Specialist dashboard. This dashboard is used by the employment specialist to create student progress reports. They may also be able to upload their CBWE rating forms on this dashboard. The TPCA report period create. This is where you go in and actually create your monthly report. So it is used by the point of contact to create that monthly report, and you will see a drop down which actually will have the month that you are trying to submit for. The TPCA add invoice further allows you to create the invoice. It will allow you to add certain amounts based on the number of employment specialists. So if you have one employment specialist, the amount will be $4,000 for the month. If you have two employment specialists, the amount will be $8,000 for that month. The TPCA add invoice will allow you to further create your invoice. So you've added your amounts. At this point, you'll be able to go in and add in your period start date and your period end date. For instance, the first invoice should be for August. You'll be able to add in August 1st, 2016 through August 31st, 2016 as the amount period. You'll also be able to have a total amount shown. For example, if you have two employment specialists, your total amount will be $8,000 for that month. If you have one employment specialist, it will be $4,000 for that month. So the total will be identified. It is imperative to note that when you are creating the invoice, that you create them in chronological order. So as I stated, the first invoice will be an August invoice. Your second invoice will be September, and the next October. So it will go in a sequential chronological order. If anytime you go out of order, that's when we have some problems within the REBA system, and I'll have to go in and get our tech team to go and make some adjustments. So to avoid all that, let's just be sure that we go in chronological order. So in conclusion of this, the cheat sheet will basically show you login information on the cheat sheet. It will tell you how to assign a password to a employment specialist. That the POC will assign a password to an employment specialist. It will also have information on managing the TPCA CBWE referrals. It'll have information on managing reports. At any time that you need help, you can click on that help button and it will give you the cheat sheet. It'll also have invoicing information and TPCA user information. So all of that is categorized within that cheat sheet. If you need assistance, you can always be sure to call me, Wayorn Tolliver. You can contact me at the email address listed or contact me by phone, and we will get the additional support you need. If there are technical issues, you can always contact the REBA Help Desk, which is reba@vr.fldoe.org.
Thank you, Wayorn. I also want to mention that the cheat sheet Wayorn was speaking about is also included in the TPCA manual, so you have that available to you as well. We did have one question that came in, and the question is, who qualifies as a site supervisor? The site supervisor would be the individual at the so the employer at the business who has signed off as being, yes, we do want to have students there working with us. Typically what will happen is it's the business owner, you know, or it could be a designee. So for instance, that owner could identify a manager, you know, something like that would qualify as a site supervisor. But someone who has that role in supervising and leading the employees, excuse me, at the work site. Okay, let's go ahead and go on. To be mindful of the busy schedules that school district folks have, we developed a timeline that lists specific TPCA expectations and requirements that will need to be completed throughout the school year as well as during summer months. We broke the time up into 5 time frames as well as a section that lists things that should be ongoing throughout the year. We are strong believers in collaboration and know when partners work together to achieve common goals, successful outcomes result. So the things that happen throughout the year will be important to that successful collaboration. In order to have the opportunity to collaborate, it is imperative that the VR counselor and employment specialist meet monthly. As mentioned earlier, these should be scheduled in advance to ensure time is built into the busy schedules that both you and the VR counselors have. In addition, employment specialists are encouraged to participate in district and community collaborative opportunities to explore additional CBWE options. VR counselors are also encouraged to participate in those interagency councils and committees, as well as engaging in Rotary meetings, Chamber of Commerce meetings, and to get out there and get the word about VR and those work opportunities to employers. The following slides share best practices that come from the TPCA program surveys, direct input from TPCA staff, and visits to the TPCA sites that I made last year. The material is meant to provide new districts with program information that will assist in program development and returning districts with ideas for continuous improvement. These best practices come directly from TPCA staff who have worked closely with these practices to develop and continually grow their programs. You will find expanded information on each in the program manual and examples in the appendices. In regards to program design and implementation, TPCA programs should use their resources to develop CBWE experiences that best match the student's abilities and needs, tolerance, endurance, and learning preferences. Consideration must also be given the academic requirements and course availability when scheduling TPCA CBWEs. Talking with the ESE teacher will be vital to ensuring students do not fall behind in their academic work. Florida has standards that are used with career DOE courses. Although the Florida DOE career curriculum is often used, some districts choose to supplement with other programs such as the ones listed on this slide. Although portfolios are often used with performance assessments, their development can take place during the CBWE, making them part of the curriculum framework. If done throughout, students will have a product that can be used to help them obtain a job after graduation or exit from high school. How the employment specialist works with TPCA students must differ according to students' individual abilities and needs. However, there are some basic strategies that have been used successfully throughout the TPCA programs in Florida. Collaboration with the ESE teacher will provide the employment specialist with guidance on which types of instructional methods may be most beneficial for the TPCA student. This slide offers a number of strategies that have been practiced successfully with students who have supported employment services. Assessment is a critical component of the learning process. It helps us evaluate, measure, and document academic and employment readiness, learning progress, skill acquisition, or needs of students. Assessments provide information that allows for the development of specialized supports, programming, and services that will aid in student success. Assessments for CBWEs may come in a variety of forms, including the pre, mid, post assessment, as well as the others listed on the slide. By celebrating success, hard work, I went ahead. It is important to keep in mind the goal of the CBWE, to help the students prepare for and gain competitive integrated employment. For smaller districts, employment options seem to be limited, and it is helpful to have ideas to pull from. It is important to be open-minded and research the opportunities within your community. Employment specialists can get a good idea of these opportunities if they participate in Rotary, Chamber of Commerce, and Business Leadership Network meetings. The VR counselor can also be of assistance in researching CBWE options. Now we talk about success. By celebrating successes, hard work and effort is recognized and reinforced. This acknowledgement of success, even small accomplishments, provides them motivation for continued growth and movement in a positive direction. Many TPCA sites have some exciting celebrations to recognize the hard work of their TPCA students and overall success of their TPCA program. In addition, some sites use this opportunity to recognize and thank the businesses and organizations and even worksite supervisors who contributed to the student success. In addition to the celebrations, some school districts have chosen to create publications such as newsletters where student successes are put in writing and pictures catching students in action have been included. These newsletters also highlight and showcase the businesses that have opened their doors to students and contributed to each student's success. Publication examples can be found in the appendices of the program manual. We here at VR want to make sure that you have the resources and supports you need in order to have a successful TPCA year. On the slide in front of you, you have the contact information for VR headquarters staff who are available to answer contractual and programmatic questions. We hope that you will go to your local staff first for questions, but we do invite you to contact us if your questions are not or can't be answered. As I mentioned when starting, the TPCA program manual is still in draft form. Once it has been approved, it will be put on our VR website for you to access. In the meantime, we invite you to download the draft available here on our webinar. I'd like to thank you for participating in this webinar and do hope that you have ample information to take back to your schools to discuss how we can partner with you to offer your students with the most significant disabilities an opportunity that they may not otherwise have had. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about the program, or WAYARN if you have questions about the contract or REBA. We look forward to working with you this year, and we wish you a successful year. We seem to have some time for questions, so let's go ahead and see what we've got coming in. Okay, I'm just going back here and finding the questions. So one question is, some of our CBWE sites are on campus at school. For example, we clean the school gym. Again, I'm going to go back to the contract, and it is required that our students in the CBWE program are getting out into the community to meet new people, to be put in environments that they may not be familiar with, to be able to apply the skills that they're learning in the TPCA program with individuals that, that are challenging them. You can certainly use your school-based activities as an opportunity for the students to practice those skills, to be comfortable, gain confidence, maybe work on those self-advocacy skills. But again, we would expect them to have some kind of a work experience outside in the community. All right, let's see, what's another question? Where do we find the TPCA manual? The TPCA manual should be, if you look in on the right side of your screen, there is a drop-down box that says Materials. And in those materials, you see the handbook Part 1, Part 2. Part 1 is the actual, the manual, and then Part 2 is the appendices that I talked about. And if you do have any trouble accessing those, you can certainly email me and I can send them to you. Next question we have is, do you have guidance for districts on how any extra monies from the TPCA contract can be spent? Again, I'm going to go back to what we outlined in the beginning as far as that the budget, the cost analysis. There are certain things that can be looked at. Salaries, obviously, we said is one, but also looking at the program needs. I know we talked a little bit about the, actually let me get the handbook I have here in front of me. I'll go over some of those things with you as far as expenditures. So we have salaries, transportation. It could be a school van utilized exclusively for the TPCA project. Unfortunately, it does exclude the purchase of a van. Bus passes would be included in that. Program supplies could be those portfolios that I talked about. So schools could be purchasing binders, digital cameras, video cameras, tablets, printers, ink, printer paper, with the understanding that all of these would be equipment used by the TPCA students. Some other things that could be considered, if students require work uniforms for their work experiences, interview clothing, special shoes, or even safety or special equipment can all be considered. The thing, though, that we need to understand is when it comes to uniforms, shoes, or that safety special equipment, we would need to have documentation showing that that is a requirement, just so you're aware. Let's see. We have another question. My students are at different schools, not at a central location. How would I go about writing daily notes on each student? Well, the daily notes are in the student progress report form on REBA, so I would imagine that you would have access to that. If you are not at that location, whoever is doing the supervision could potentially provide you those notes, whether it be, through an email or written, and then those could then be submitted through the through REBA and the student progress reports. But again, everyone should have access, or the point of contact and the employment specialist should have access to that student progress report in REBA for those notes to be listed. Okay, so next question is, if you have more than the minimum 6 students listed in REBA, do all listed students need a required 1 CBWE per school year in addition to the other services provided? I'm going to let Wei Arn answer this one. Hold on.
Well, of course, the goal is that all of the students would acquire some type of work experience, but per contract, it only states that 6 students have to have a CBWE before the end of the contract period.
Thank you, Wei Arn. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, question, where is the link for the current draft manual? Again, it should be in your materials little drop down on your screen. If not, just email me and I will send those to you. Okay. Whoops, something just popped up. Another question, can you provide me with a new CBWE form and pre, mid, post assessment as well as CBWE worksite evaluations electronically? Those are, again, in the handbook, but if you can send me an email, I will certainly send those to you because unfortunately your email is not showing up, so I wouldn't know who to send it to. So just shoot me an email at the sheila.ward@vr.fldoe.org and I will get those to you. Next question, if a VR client has to get background check or drug tested, can this be part of their plan? Also, graduation can be a burden for some families. Can this also be a part of their IPE plan? Well, as far as the cost for if there is a requirement for this individual to get the background check and it's part of their IPE, it's required for their employment goal, then yes, that can be counted. I would talk with the VR counselor about that, and if it is something that is needed, then that can be something added to the plan. I'm not really sure as far as the graduation question. I would probably need some more clarification on what it is that you're asking or what it is that you need. If you could, again, shoot me an email, that would be great, and I'll be able to answer that for you. Or you can always give me a call too, and we can talk about it then. Okay, I don't think I've missed any additional questions. If I have, or if you have any additional questions, go ahead and enter them now. I thank you all very much for your time. We did end earlier than we thought, which is great. But you do have our contact information, mine and Wayan's, so please give us a call or email us and we'll be happy to talk with you more. If there's no additional questions, I'd like to thank you and wish you all a wonderful day and a wonderful year. Thank you all very much.